I'm an army guy though. Well, too much wind in here. Okay, 22 January. I'm going to give you an intel briefing, quantum, and then we're going to get into, I'm going to separate it out and do a separate briefing on other things. Lucifer and some Ozzy Osbourne. So let's get into this. So, this is all about fourth density awareness as a human being. It's at the quantum level, presentation-wise. It's open source, multi-dimensional, and it's an awareness intel briefing for you, because I'm a white-hatted child of the light, turning it on for you, the viewer, my fellow cohorts, as we go up. So, FYI, we're in the second half of the tribulation, ladies and gentlemen. Roughly March 2021, it was kicked off, and we are in the war in heaven. So I'll be summarizing that from a long-term and short-term perspective, and then I'll include what I call our regressives order of battle. Just the proxy ones that are out there, angels or extraterrestrials, and they're coming to get us. So the opposite of love is fear. So remember that. Here we go. This is really intended. I left this on here to remind us. This was from Sam the Illusionist, who's on YouTube. He channels the angelic realms. And this occurred a couple of months ago. And there is a system called the Orion Arc Reactor. And I'm just saying, hey, it harnesses energy. It was compromised on the sun. Everybody said, hey, what are you guys doing? And they negated it. Now, an interesting note, because we know a lot. We were told here, these are words that came from the channeling, that the GF is working with the Ashtar Collective and others. So the Council of Planets is watching this, but I just am curious about why there's a differentiation there. Nothing more to say. But this system, the reason I left it in here is to remind anybody that is paying attention to these kind of things, heavenly, that this sun energy system is also on Mercury and Mars, and I'll be talking about them later. Important planets. So you translate that into flares and putting energy out that does things to our planet, and there must be a correlation. There must be. Okay, so the guidance we got back then, this is important. This is a love and compassion while dreaming, and that ensures the destruction of all this negative polarity. So how you feel about yourself and everybody else just is the force. It makes you a peace warrior. Freedom and power, knowledge and wisdom, and love and compassion. These are eternal creator attributes, and you as a human need to embrace this, and then we go live forever. Okay, so that was that particular incident, but I wanted to remind you that this gizmo is out there, whatever it is. The Soul Track machine has been terminated, so it's not in play. So here's significant activities. I'm going to go through these really fast. Believe it or not, there was another planet in the solar system past Jupiter. It's called Maldek. We, human consciousness, occupied it, and Mark Zuckerberg and those dedicated to negative agenda destroyed it. It blew up. So a roughly 500,000. So we were transported to Earth and given imagination as an extra eyes open experience of our reality to refine how we learn, so that the product of our human existence, along with discovering the truth within and returning to our one true creator from third density just above animals, is spectacular. So we are on Earth ascending to that right now, but I'm going back because although time is a dimension, it can be expressed so that you can be aware of where we're at right now. 500,000 years ago, the Elohim did the first GMO. Okay, there's a whole presentation on how there was a Maldek Mars coalition social memory complex that broke away and did the Adams and Eves. That's in another presentation. I don't want to get hung up on it. I'm reviewing here. So important. 180,000 years BCE, the Lucifer Collective rebels with 36 planets, including Earth. Lucifer was the governor of Jupiter and everything outside. When these guys, the senior angelic realms that got the vibe down pat, that angel, who's an equivalent, Lucifer is 6th density, unconditional love, to check in at that place, no weapons, everybody's self-forgiven, and you reconcile. At 6th density, you made it. There are many beings that are happy to be at 6th density. Yeshua, 7th density and above is the ascended masters that are so close to the Creator because of who they are. Edgar Gacy, they've been written of, so they're real. And Yeshua was the guy; he was the king. We'll talk about it. So this is when the big rebellion occurred. You want to talk about the rebellion? This was it right here. We had been GMO'd. Let's do this. 500,000 years ago, human beings, 138, males and females, were given high self-wisdom and set up Turkey Armenia teaching through a long period of time before they all bit the apple, which they were told, hey, if you do that, you're going to go back into the death cycle. They probably did it intentionally, and at a given time, after the learning had occurred and humanity had progressed, Lucifer said, okay, I can go. Yeah, I'm gone. Whoop. And this is a long time to be riding around now. I'm going to make an assumption that, if beings have first density points of origin, and Yeshua was from Sirius, Lucifer might be point of origin Jupiter, because of the 4-star conjunction, and those two lights got banged on Jupiter on either side. So it's all a signal for what's coming. Potentially. We don't know for sure. I'm giving you reasonable speculation. So 75,000 before Common Era, that's cycles of ages ago. Shall I have my ready paper plate to remind you about ages and how long they take? So when the Earth pirouettes, the axis does a tabletop circle, that's an age. Look at the bottom. By the way, the last human's kicking out of here on 2121 roughly. So a cycle of ages is 25,920 years. These are numbers that you don't normally think about. The Bible goes back like 10,000 or less, so you might as well put that in the fire where it belongs after you take out the words of Christ that are living in us. So that's the deal on ages. Now we're talking 75,000, so that's roughly 3 cycles of ages ago. Our planet had a different configuration. Lemuria, which still exists at Mount Shasta and has a collective consciousness that communicates with Sam the Illusionist around Mount Shasta, there was a continent there that essentially ran into the Pacific. Think about all the Asian stuff coming across the Pacific in the tropic lush environment, and I believe that clearly, whatever may have been occurring over on Atlantis existed then as a counterpart, because Atlantis goes back a long way. Remember, Lucifer's busted loose, and you're still in an evolutionary period, closing in close to us when you get here. Close to us, I mean, but this is a long time, and we missed it. Thought we were lamps. I can show you on other slides, sort of. We are this in the middle, and they just put a system together to make you go, hey, you're not free. You need to be doing what we're doing. So we kind of talked ourselves back down to where we're at right now. And the window only comes, our creator says, okay, we're ready here. And all the echoes of the wake up happen, and boom, you get your chance, and we blew it. Lord Sananda, Yeshua ben Joseph, the high self, gave the guidance, the mountain of light, the triad that I described earlier: freedom and power, knowledge and wisdom, love and compassion. All these lit humans were way higher than we are right now, and they're back. So we're doing better this time. So here you go. Call this whatever you want. The Great Flood. This is Tiamat. This is very occultish about what was going on here. But Lucifer, this is the last time the Bureau affected our planet, and Zuckerberg was at it again, and the place got train wrecked. So you see it, the deluge, all these things happened in a relatively compressed period, and then and then after that got broken out, I could go into other things here to tell you, give you other dates if I thought about them, but I'm not gonna, get into that right now. So the Hopi went to Inner Earth. They ended up constructing the 3 mesas, and that got us into sort of modern era, because Yeshua ben Joseph came on 03 BC under a 4-banger. So I'm jumping forward here, forgetting about Solomon and David and how we sort of got here with the Anunnaki dropping in 2130. They came in 2130 BC. So we're in this window where everything's happening, and everything, all the humans are being GMO'd. 13 went down, and they coached the Agarthans and chased the reptiles out. Over in the Persian Gulf, different things were happening. David Icke can tell you all about that. But close in now. Close in. Here we go. 41, World War II. I'm going to get into our aggressives, who they are, but there was a treaty established at the South Pole in 1941, and it ended in 2021. So you're talking about Aryans, and I'll discuss them more shortly. So moving forward in time, closer, in this near-term window, tribulation began on 23 September. I did a presentation on it. You're welcome to take a look at it, but it's when Jupiter exited Virgo, and I did a brief on it that you should look at, because I also discussed the star configuration on 9/11/3 BC. So be advised, astrotheology is like a real thing. And all these critics, I'm putting stuff out there now, and these guys are coming back, oh, they're typical morons. Oh, how dare you stare up at the stars? That's like, you must be whatever. You know what? Go ahead and look at the ground then. You go ahead and look down at the ground. Look at your freaking smartphone. These people are retards at this point, as far as I'm concerned, because the cosmic energy is out there, and so are the retards that are bouncing right off them, and 31 January is going to be a big day. So if you're watching me and you hear me, you get lit up, and you be open for what's occurring, because cosmic energy's coming. So this is a counter rescue for us. It's going to get very intense. So after 1260 days in March, war breaks out in heaven. Read Revelation 12. And in that window, you had Pope Francis going to and you had Yeshua ben David being introduced at the wall in Jerusalem. So that's a halftime report right there about, okay, let's continue in the big wobble. So from May to October, now I'm near term, I'm back into second half, and I'm back to angelic reporting. There has been interdiction and transmutation occurring on both those planets, Mercury and Mars. What is transmutation? That's when a regressive being is compromised with love and overwhelmed with the opportunity to forgive themselves and cross over, and it's so magnanimous that the body, the remaining artificial shell of high-speed, hijacked transportation is left, because the essence of the feeling of the being that was transmuted is not a part of them anymore. So it's a big victory, and it doesn't really get expressed as well as it should. But the information that's used from those compromises, think about Delta Force hitting a target in Afghanistan. That information is then used for other purposes. And I don't want to do these human opposition things, but hey, why not? That's a good one, because the Taliban are messed up. They're sledgehammer swinging, women haters, and they need to be straightened out. So I like my analogy. I'm not changing it. Unfortunately, we didn't do a good enough job at educating them when we were there. But it's a transmutation of love that's going to happen anyway when we go on the ground and we talk to them. Whoever doesn't get blown out in the next few months, we're going to go to Afghanistan and experience their cultures again. There are multiple cultures in Afghanistan that have been repressed. Look what happened on 9/11 with Masood, and all those people of that entire culture got suppressed. And they're the good guys. So they do dances, and their women are beautiful, and come on. So that's just Afghanistan as an analogy. There's Hebrews that are over there. I mean, you go into the Khyber Pass, and they drag you into ancient, line of David sanctuary that goes Solomon, then goes to Solomon. But whatever, it's all traceable. So recently, Astro World, Real World, from the moon, they did it, Alice. And when that guy Travis Scott got up on those boom boxes, it freaked everybody out and scared them. And it was the volume and the low vibrational, distorted, controlled energy that made people die. They lost their minds and they ran around. Turn that into 5G and the big cell phone towers that are all over the world right now, and their ability to blow you out, because they are ready to do it. And if you backed up and you're all aluminated, aluminum-aided, heavy metals in your head from listening to it, from having been injected to it, mind, body, spirit, they're going for you in this frame. So you have to have love in your heart, learn to vibrate very highly in love, because then you're literally above all that. That's how the Essenes were able to live at Sodom and Gomorrah. They were there where the nukes went off, when Enlil and Enki went at it. However long ago that was, those guys lived out there. Ask yourself why. They just vibrated above it. Their hearts were too big. They took cold showers. That part I don't understand. But let's get back here. So this is going to be some pretty good instruction that you get. So remember, second half of the trib, 1/3 of the stars in heaven are cast down. So I'm telling you what they are, and then I'll do some more analogies. Planets of stars. So the three that are in play, shall we metamorphosize, are Mars, Washington, D.C., City of London, Mars. I'm sorry. Break. Mercury, City of London. I'll do two things at once here. Look, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn. Those are your three planets. That's 1/3 of the stars in our solar system. Those are the ones on our storyboard. Now look at the red. The Vatican is the command and control from Saturn. Look at the North Pole of Saturn. It's got a hexagon broadcasting antenna on it. And we just do the 440 here. Rockefeller. We blast it off. Disney World. That's just command and control of your brain. Mars's War. They built, all these places have obelisks. Okay, that's this sticking out of the ground. Washington Monument, the painting of George. Okay, that's the Washington Monument. The warped idea of war, where you are the one, you're the pawn. You're the guy who drove through the IEDs for him, and then he painted your picture. That's just that cretin. Trump is the current embodiment of this. He retreated out of D.C., and everybody knows he's coming back, and he's mad at the media. So that's the war vibe. Okay? All this command and control, I'll talk about extraterrestrially, but finally, Mercury in the city of London is all those things. It's the Fabian story of the hidden hand, because I can show you pictures of Stalin, Napoleon, George Washington, Prince Harry, Kim in North Korea. Bush is a Mason, Putin's a Mason, the guy from China is a Mason. I'll show you pictures in another brief. I'm just doing this. I'm not going all over the place. I'm gonna stick to my important things to talk about for the tribulation, and I'll do a separate presentation later on other more colorful things. So that's where we are right now, and these elements have been cast down because Trump's ready to go. You watch all these alternative reports that are going on. They're telling you the destruction is coming, and the control, the third temple, Kushner, Trump, Abraham Accord. It's in the news. Go to the Jerusalem News. They are moving out with that Abraham Accord to get the money, to bulldoze Gaza, to ignite the third temple, to release all this overtly. No more pretend, let's have a private meeting and figure out how we're going to G7 the brains of the people. This is full up, coming at you. They're going to rotate around Mars. I think I'll talk about it, but humanity is being exchanged. So, continue. So, the opposers, the thumbs, okay, maybe that's why this is fire, because Mars is the opposition. That's what the Council of Planets and the angels tell us, that, the modification of this to this, and maybe this was five fingers that had no opposition, but this was a factor in the story of being able to oppose, and this is fire. So our Creator's in the middle of all this, and that's what makes it so beautiful. Don't get lost, be found. Okay, so these are the baddies. Let's start. Really, if you want to start at the top, it's not in the right order. Boy, if I could make this a test and say, prioritize in order whom are the biggest problems. Shall we? Let's do it. Well, number one, you have to go. Really, only because there's a negative side of this that said, let's do it. They came out of Maldek, so there's nothing new here. These are the negative Elohim, Gadrael and Azazel, and just the yeah. You got to go to Enoch and just look around at the names and say, come on, you guys are doing what? Because Enoch was supposedly taken back to be shown, hey, here's what we're doing. They did. Somebody brought the notions to these innocent humans, the Neanderthals. Hey, here's how you sharpen this stuff and make metal, wear makeup. So we were walking around here as, what's the right word for hypoallergenic, and they got us all dolled up with metals and perfumes and destroying us with hey, this is good. You'll like this. Put a bunch of shit on yourself and you'll adore yourself. That's them. And so the odd part of the Hebrew version is that Enoch gets the word back. Hey, when you take it up to
your device isn't set up yet. To get
source,
started, download the Google Home app on a phone
when
or
you
tablet.
take it up to source, the word comes back. No forgiveness for what you've done. Well, that's them not forgiving themselves. And I think that's what's going to happen when they loop around Mars here and come back, because they're checking out of their air suits for exchanging their capacity to bring whatever they think is coming. It'll be an adventure for them. It's an adventure for us. So I hope that they make smart decisions when they do their final Dark Illuminati turn, because it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. And I'm not speaking for Lucifer. I'm speaking for things Trump and Musk and, the human haters that for some reason are giving it up mistakenly, lying to us, wanting to murder us, and not being happy that we're not going down fast enough, so they're just exchanging their humanity for the sledgehammer of Kushner and the temple and whatever they can bring. It's a dark ignition that's coming. So I'm going to get back on the order of whatever, but the negative Elohim and many of these angels are, indirectly participating. But you can bet that in terms of the beings that are going to be checking out, these ones are eliminated and they can't be that stupid. So, but you have those that are of that essence of the Martian hatred of humans that is almost inexplicable, but it comes from proxy management that has just formed a coalition on that planet that's a self-propelled, very advanced Luciferian. So let's talk about the composition here now. This I put at the top. You got to go right here though. This is the 440. I did a very detailed briefing on the Anunnaki. Recently learned now. David Icke was on the pirate ship. He bailed out. These guys run it though. I mean, as far as the hybrids that after the Persian Gulf stuff happened, 2130 BC, this all started occurring with these beings having extended lives. I'm going to throw out Henry Kissinger as a name of somebody's got, some Rockefeller who's talking to the Pope. And Kim Gogui knows who these people are, but the rules of the game are she doesn't spell names out. She talks about Trump as a real player. Trump's not Marduk, though. Trump's got a Mars point of origin, but he's not Marduk. So he's in the game as a human self-sacrifice if he decides to go that way. And I have a lot of pity for Donald Trump at this point, because he looks like he's out of his mind. And he's I'm going back to the guy that I just am trying to understand. Like, come on, what are you doing, man? You had it and you're blowing it. Destruction. He's the man of destruction, and he's pointing the fingers now. Just look at him. So that's Trump. Where does he fit in? Where does Donald Trump fit in? You could say so many things about him. From his bloodline, he's Merovingian. So go with that to Dracula up here. And then on his mother's side, he's got a little bit of royal stuff going on that appears to be the red-headed, blue-eyed, and he's got the carnival stuff with his male part of the family. And it was John Trump that got Tesla's information. Okay, so these are you have a majestic 12, who are the human interfaces for all things this. And Vannevar Bush during World War II was a part of it. Forrestal, who was Admiral Byrd's sidekick, was a part of it. These were 12 humans in the world, all white, that were connected into this. So, who are they? These are the Draco in Orion. And look at the Draco and think about the Mass and Dracula and blood drinking. And your Jesuit hijack mind of, you read the Jesuit oath, and you got it. Next down, well, they are reptilian, multi-body vessels. Please, let's digress momentarily on species of creation. And just understand that if they are on Earth, unrooted, then they are represented in the universe at higher densities and able to communicate. You look at take a good look at a praying mantis close up and what is staring back at you. So please understand there are feline and canine, and all these species have a dial of the behavior. Good. Oh, no. Maybe. Oh man, dark. So when you go reptilian, please understand that dragons are reptiles. So if you say all reptiles are bad, you blew it. How come they can grow their tails back and you can't? Reptiles are medicine, and reptiles are sacred. And the Hopi know this, so you have to learn it. But on the dark side, they will eat. They're cold. Think about these terms. They will eat their young. And these reptilians will sit down at a table and eat human beings on Epstein Island and these other places of desecration, because the presidents took the humans in the shipping containers using maritime law, because maritime law is what drives the train around here. And I was going to show you that represented on my plate, but I don't see it because I lost my plate. How did I do that? I'm going to pause this. Okay, I found it. It was right next to me. But I was talking about maritime law. This whole circus, shipping containers that run all over the world, the Ever Given that was hijacked by Egypt and alSisi to pay money. Nobody's got any money anymore. They're living on vapors. All this is going away. But I'm getting back to the proxy management of human beings that are occupied by nature, and they're also extraterrestrial and angelic. So on the reptilian side, you're looking at your leaders and what's coming out of their eyes, the truth. They can shapeshift, they can look like they love, but they don't. And they're ahead of you. They were, they came, they in 2130 BC, the aliens crash landed and they GMO'd up these controllers. Look at the activated pineal glands in the sub-gods. So they can hate you and look at you like they like you, and they can extend their lives and everything else. And even in spite of that, Bush Sr., they're crashing out at age 99 or in their 90s. So they must be eating a lot of people in order to deregulate themselves, because they really mess up when they pass. I'd love to know where George Sr.'s bat caving it out at, because he's gone. He might have been Marduk. I mean, Kim Goguen maybe, but the time differentiation doesn't add up. So it's very difficult for me to make that determination as to who Marduk is. You could say John McCain. I mean, I could throw out all kinds of names of guys that are just got black-eyed out. However, let's stay on our order of battle here. So you have the Dracos from Orion, and they are that is communism meets Abraham. Go there and you got your enemy, that side of the enemy. Third Temple, blast off artillery, broad-based artillery, coming at you, the human, to kill you, to dominate you, to bring war on you. Oh, from Orion. It's a war planet. It's about war. There's a war in the universe. It's been going on eternally. They broke bad. Thought has infected the entire multiverse, and we're going to fix it. So it's going to be a good ride. So, in addition to reptilians, there are insectoids. Sorry again. Simon Parks is the one known example that I have. I would say the guests that he has on his show would be a proper Charlie Ward, W-A-R-D. Look these men up on YouTube and get a load of them. Mel K, female. Trump zombie. Michael Jaco. Have no idea on that dude. He thinks he's pushing around some stuff, and he's got himself all dolled up and postured, and he sits just like these other guys. I don't know if they go to special training when they go to mind control school on how they have to have their studio arranged to speak to their audience. And Jaco's really been a disappointment. I thought that guy was going to figure things out, and he will. I hope he does. So, insectoids, that was kind of them. And these guys are, look at insects, and then that's enough to tell you that, they work in hives, they're collectives, they adore queens. So there are fundamental attributes of behavior that you can apply to these mindsets, because it helps you get over the shock of what? Hey Billy, what are you talking about? Hey, wait a second. Hey Billy, what are you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? All right, well, I'm trying to tell you. All right, so have peace. You're God. We own all this. It's for learning. So we talked about the Elohim, all those L's, right? Azazel. And there's good ones, the positive ones. Just in the Seraphim, you have Michael and Gabriel. So you understand. And at the broader level, it's the Elohim, in terms of you broaden out the spectrum of angelic accord, and that's how that level of management works. Good ones and bad ones. So the next down are not far from all inclusive, but you got the Greys. Area 51, these are the ones with the big brains, very advanced, that were able to add the extra woo-woo into what's happening. And I think they got command and controlled into a crash landing, trying to warp speed by, or however and the guys survived in Area 51. It's all things you don't know about. And they have deep underground places where people have been tortured in their dreams or realistically at Dulce, New Mexico, and the Department of Energy is all over this stuff. They have the white side and the black side, and the black side works together, taking all our technology. I mean, it's a joke. The Chinese come over and they work at DOE, and they got all the access that they need. So all the biometrics, I mean, the United States just gave everything away in the way they were organized to do business. And we watched it, but the pawns on the ground went to jail if they left a classified document outside. You see the differentiation in what happens at the top. So they just got you. Wait, you're a pawn, and you don't know right from wrong. Most of you, I'll admit it. Come on, I'm new to all this, but I'm explaining it to you quite clearly. So those are the Greys. They are consciousness managers, and they're biological, and they can be manipulated with trained up consciousness put into their vessel, so they can go, do weird stuff and try and out meditate us or whatever. It's the JV, let's call it, because it is. But we did it as a test. We all worked together against them. They went to the South Pole and tried to rally up just to see how well it worked, and we won. I mean, it was the initial crew of guys just I saw a gray in my imagination that day whenever we did that, just to fix that problem that allegedly was discovered when Ashtar did the compromise on Mars, of those guys stitching things up with the intent of going to do what they did. So we got to play. We came out of the box as a collective, and Sam the Illusionist led it. And if you didn't participate, that's okay. Look how easy it is against them. We did fine and we did good. So the last group down here, and by the way, Dolores Cannon likes the grays, so they're good grays, just to get back on the positive and negative. Dolores Cannon didn't have time for any of this. Dolores Cannon was upset because she was trying to help people that were abducted by these bozos and hijacked their consciousness and scared the shit out of them. If you listen to the people on YouTube that are, oh, it's really sad. I feel if it's true, I mean, it is true, because the people believe that they are who they are, you know, and they've just been, it's fear. It's ultimately, there's no way it could have happened if you didn't have protection. So these people get on their path of freedom, and somehow the path to protection is lost along the way, and they assess your tapestry, where you going, the situation, and boom, they got you. And so it's the system down here on this planet that our Creator and the angels have put together for us to play in, and we're it. We are the firstborn, and we're going to live forever. So the last group, these are the Baader-Meinhof here. Now you got them. You got them. Iran. They're in the middle of Iran, and they got the swastika on the Luftwaffe from way back there. Those blue-eyed daredevils who, you know, in terms of if you would like to fight properly, this is them. This is them. These are your, you know, I'll say it. Kennedy got taken out by this. John Kennedy got taken out by a precise hit. And the guy driving that limo hit him. So go back to super soldier talk down here. I'll get to that in a minute. But this is the South Pole. These guys chopped their way down. They all worked down there. You know, you got Kerry. I've said this before. Kerry went down there when Trump was elected to talk about climate change, man-made weather. You know, that's the big cover story. Oh, we need to do something about it because we're causing it, from the CERN in Switzerland and the G7. They probably get a day during the conference to go tour CERN and get a brief on how they're destroying the world with the weather, so the leaders can then go back and make some statement about, you know, we need to prepare, and then they look good. Who the hell knows? All I know is they know stuff that you don't. Even Biden. Picture that. So this is George Bush. This is 9/11. This is Coke for guns. This is the Germans coming to America with Operation Paperclip. You know, your brain. They took your brain. They teach your science. They run your aircraft. You know, Vannevar Bush fought them. You know, he allowed Pearl Harbor, and then he went to go do Hitler, and, well, we'll help Britain, and then they're coming back to us. And so we just participate. And that's why the glory is in knowing how to get into the right spots, because that's where all the excitement is. I'm back on the Philippines for some reason, because the OSS, I'm telling you guys that's the count of our Creator never abandons us. So if you wanted to go for a ride during World War II and Hitler was doing his thing, of course you want to be crashing into Normandy as a part of Norman. You're Norman normal going into Normandy, and you might have took a hit, you might have not. And if so, you got war stories to tell, you were supposed to be here to tell them. It's that simple. It's great. You know, you go down, you go down. So this is a good channel, Cosmic Agency, on to talk about these things from, but they're not 100%. They got embedded Nordic problem men. And Gosha is pretty tuned in. She wants to put her armor on and fight the woman fight. But they got good stuff on these programs that what happens and who happens. And don't use discernment when you hear this. And when you get lit and enlightened, you know how to align truth. So when you hear that Jesus never existed, you go, oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to wait now and wait for the more stuff to come, because then truth comes. I know this. That's how you get to be where you are, because the Bible's got truth and lies. So if you're stuck in the Bible and quoting scripture and St. Paul, you're lost. For goodness sakes. He didn't come here to shed his blood to forgive your sins. You got duped up here by all of them. The Jesuits are laughing at you and taking your money when that collection plate goes around to go child trafficking. Oh no, Billy, don't say it like that. All right, then how do you want to hear it? What's in the basement of Necropolis? At any rate, James Rink on Super Soldier Talk, another great YouTube channel to go learn about the crazy stuff. And as I mentioned before, he says that there's a guy who impersonated an abductee or a hijacked person, came to Vegas, talked to him, went home and put out a bullshit video that, oh, that's all a big lie. Because the bad guys get their chance to play back. And then you, the viewer, have to go, oh, see, that guy said it's all bullshit. And you just got to listen to Rink, man. He's as adamant as, they're out there, the guys that are just doing it. And Rink is one of them. He's a pretty admirable guy, the way he's just super interested in getting everybody to come out. And Jaco is a part of all that, Michael Jaco, but he passes by the stuff that he should get hooked on because he wants to blow the weather around and, those jabbers, we gotta, those jabbers. It's like, so the vaccinated guys are the enemy in his brain. So the last thing that I'll say about the war in heaven, and just as a general topic, this goes back a long time, because there were Orion wars that go back when they came here and they did their business. So Sodom and Gomorrah, when it occurred, probably more than 2000 BC, was a nuclear war of boom between Enlil and Enki over management of humans. So as a result of that, now of course the Bible story is homosexuals and all this abominable behavior that triggered the dark. So you use your discernment there, and you understand that if two people care about each other, what business is, don't ask, don't tell. Leave it at that. Now, if you go madness on the pirate ship and have parades and put it in your child's face to make that his obvious choice, now you've overstepped your bounds. So, but there were wars back then, and the Essenes lived there. That's the Dead Sea. That's why it's all radioactive. That was Sodom and Gomorrah, if you want to know where it was. And sodomy is probably bad. Okay, so that was the end of that presentation. And we're in a window right now where if you're watching, if you're hearing about anything that's going on out in the world, it's very negative. All the wars, all the stops are being pulled out all over the place on a conventional, using force of arms to destabilize things. It appears that way. Clearly in Israel, the push is on the Abraham Accord. And I'm going to continue to monitor. The other thing that's important is there are these Trump the Trump channels that are reporting on stuff that's coming. Destruction of DC, and they're putting their esoteric spin on it to make it sound like it's a trust the plan Trump thing. Like the reason that this is happening is because all those bad guys needed to finally pay the price. And Trump, thank goodness for Trump being the guy that's, just allowing it to happen, because they were just fake and they lied to him and they didn't do what he wanted. They tried to impeach him. So he'll have the spin to be on top of it. But DC area is going down. The Vatican will probably be destroyed. City of London, be careful there. You know, you're in England and Glastonbury area, so England is to an extent is protected, but it'll be de-arranged, shall we say, between the Jesuits and the reptiles and the true kings and queens that are us. So that's the end of that. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do another